Yes, sir.
No, he's got a family practice.
You have the Bible.
Yes, I did pick up one. He said it. Pass
We're going to go ahead and get started, if I can have everybody's attention. We're going to start with me, and then, where'd they go? Mark, and then Julia. We'll go in that order there, I guess. Is it thing on? Does it need to be on? It's on.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Hardy King, do solemnly swear
I, Hardy King, do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of the state,
according to the Constitution of the state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I have been elected,
to which I have been elected,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
of this state and of the United States.
of this state and of the United States.
As mayor of the town,
As mayor of the town,
I will equally, fairly, and impartially,
I will equally, fairly, and impartially,
to the best of my ability and skill,
to the best of my ability and skill,
exercise the trust reposed in me,
exercise the trust reposed in me,
and I will use my best endeavors to preserve the peace
and I will use my best endeavors to preserve the peace
and carry into effect according to law
and carry into effect according to law
the purpose for which I have been elected.
the purpose to which I have been elected.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I do solemnly affirm that I am duly qualified,
I do solemnly affirm that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been elected,
to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been elected,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of this state
and of the United States.
and of the United States.
As a council member of the town of Irmo, South Carolina,
As a council member of the town of Irmo, South Carolina,
I will equally,
I will equally,
fairly and impartially,
fairly and impartially,
to the best of my ability and skill,
to the best of my ability and skill,
exercise the trust reposed in me,
exercise the trust reposed in me,
and I will use my best endeavors
and I will use my best endeavors
to preserve the peace
to preserve the peace
and carry into effect,
and carry into effect,
according to the law,
according to the law,
the purposes for which I have been elected.
the purposes for which I have been elected.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
She's got mercy. She's holding her. Place your left hand, raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I do solemnly affirm
I do solemnly affirm
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of the state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I have been elected,
to which I have been elected,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my
to
ability,
the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect, and defend
to preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of this state
and of the United
and
States.
of the United States.
As a council member of the town of Irmo, South Carolina,
As a council member of the town of Irmo, South Carolina,
I will equally,
I will equally,
fairly, and impartially,
fairly, and impartially,
to the best of my ability and skill,
to the best of my ability and skills,
exercise the trust reposed in me,
exercise the trust reposed in me,
and I will use my best endeavors
and I will use my best endeavors
to preserve the peace
to preserve the peace
and carry into effect, according to the law,
and carry into effect, according to the law,
the purposes for which I have been
the
elected.
purposes for which I have been elected.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
We got a few minutes before 7. I will call the December 1st meeting, regular meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order. And I will go ahead, since we're starting off new, and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Father, we just give you thanks, Lord, for tonight. We thank you for the weather being good tonight, Lord, for our Christmas tree lighting. We thank you for the many people who have taken up their time to come tonight and for all the things that are going on. We just give you thanks. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Next item on the agenda is the reading of the minutes for October 20th, 2015. Is there a motion for the minutes to be approved as written?
So moved.
And a second.
A second.
And Any discussion? All in favor then of them being approved as written, do so with show of hands. Next is the minutes from the November 17th meeting. Is there a motion for them to be approved as written?
So moved.
And second.
Second.
And any discussion? All in favor of them being approved as written, do so with show of hands. The next item is election of Mayor Pro Tem. What we'll do is just take nominations. They don't have to be seconded, and then we can just vote on them from there. Any nominations?
Yes, I want to nominate Julius Waits.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I want to nominate Kathy Conley.
Any other nominations? What we'll do is go through each of them, and if there's a tie, then we'll just keep going until ties broken, so to speak. Go in the order they were done. All in favor then of Julius Waits, do so with show of hands. For Kathy Conley, do so with show of hands. And was it, I didn't even count, was it 3? Okay. All righty. That would be then Julius Waits. All righty. Next is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, do you have anything you need to add?
Just two things, Mr. Mayor. We have 3 openings on the Planning Commission coming up, and there'll also be 3 openings for the Overstretch Commission. So I have advertised for those positions today. We'll receive applicants until the end of next week, but if council members know anybody who would like to be on one of those commissions, please let me know. And we'll probably have it on the December 15th or January 5th meeting to appoint those. Also, don't forget about the Keep the Midlands Beautiful Gala. It's Friday, the 11th of December.
Okay.
That's all.
And I was thinking too, there's a chamber thing Thursday. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, but that oyster roast is this Thursday. I think 5:30 to
Yeah, I did get that late this
8.
afternoon. You're right. That's Pine
or
Island.
something.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Brown on the administrative briefing? Seeing none. Next item is amendments to the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. Next is consideration of communication. Any considerations of communication?
Yeah, I got some other things. We had a flooding issue over there in Albans, on St. Albans Road, and I believe we sent a letter out to DOT about the curbs, the sidewalks that we put in, and then I don't think they properly built the curbs for the sidewalks correctly, because what's happening is the water's overflowing on top of the curbs and flooding out backs of these houses on that road. So did you get a response from that letter?
Haven't had a
from
response
DOT?
yet. No, sir.
I understand the residents tried to contact DOT also.
That was my understanding that they talked to them. I don't know if engineers ever showed up or not. I haven't got a response back.
Okay, we need to put that on the agenda for the next meeting then, because we need to follow up with that. Either get them down here or get somebody here to talk to us about those curbs, those sidewalks they put in.
Okay, what do you want on the agenda exactly? Do we want to, because I mean, last time they talked to us, which was a long time ago when they first built it, I mean, it's built to their standards.
That's fine, but they didn't put the proper curbing in there. What they did was they made it even with the road. When it rains, the water doesn't have a way to curb itself into the drain.
Oh,
And
got
it's
it,
going
okay.
across the sidewalks into the back of these people's houses.
So you want me to invite them? That's Tony Magwood again.
Yeah,
That's
well,
their,
fine,
his
Tony.
area.
They're the ones that did the sidewalk, right?
Yes, they
Yeah,
are.
Tony's the one, I guess we would invite them, put it on his
I will attempt to get them and then I'll let you know.
That's fine.
We can confirm that they'll be here next meeting, okay?
Any other considerations of communication? Next item is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who would like to address council on any item that's on the agenda. All we ask is you come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and then also which agenda item you'll be speaking to. Anyone who would like to address council on an agenda item.
I thought the flood, is the flood an agenda item or not?
No.
But you can, at the end of the meeting, we'll have another presentation there. Any present, seeing none. The next item is unfinished business, the approval to adopt the personnel policy dated December 1st, 2015, and to revoke all previous policies. Is there a motion for approval?
I make a motion.
And a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? And I think for the record, there were two changes made to this one. One was I think it's page 14, is that it?
Two changes made for the one we're gonna adopt tonight?
Yeah,
No, there was two changes from the one that we adopted last time.
yeah.
Section 1.21, which is on page 14, they added the last sentence to the first paragraph.
And that was the sentence that we took out of the last one, the last time. And then also 123.
Section 1.23 was rewritten entirely by the attorney, the labor attorney.
And that was the one where we had taken out partisan or nonpartisan and left one of them in and took them out or something like that.
And he said partisan doesn't need to be in there at all.
Yeah. And so we had him look at that, the attorney up there look at that again and just write it the way he felt like it should be, so that there'd be no troubles down the road.
Okay, if those are the only two changes you made, why are we adopting this whole?
Basically, you can't amend a
Policy.
personnel policy, you have to adopt a new one, so you have to change the two items and add them in and then adopt the thing as a whole.
But I'm saying, well, I mean, from the one we had already adopted, I understood that and agreed with it and all this other stuff. If we were just changing two sentences, and then why didn't we just modify those two sentences?
Because it's a policy that goes out to all the employees, and they must go out in this form as opposed to collecting them all back from them and handwriting in changes.
Yeah.
This way, we just simply publish the new one, and they get the whole thing, and they'll sign for it.
But I mean, I didn't have a chance to compare this one to the old one. I mean, did you ever copy the old one? I mean, I know we adopted it already, but I didn't know there was, we only changed two
Wasn't it-
sentences.
Did this go out in the package?
It did. It went out last week. We hand carried them to everybody.
This new one,
The new one. Here's the old one. If you want.
the old one, I'm saying, I mean.
Well, you had the old one yourself left over from the last meeting. Was it-
Council had approved the old one already.
You
So
had
those
that.
are the only two changes to the one you approved.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, if we're making two line changes, right, what else is changing here that I don't know about, you know? You say nothing else is changing there at all?
That's the only thing that has been changed, so we put things there. Any more discussion? All in favor then of the approval to adopt this personnel policy dated December 1st, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next item is the approval to rescind the closure of Gibbs Street. And I asked this to be on there since we had kind of started the process. Is there a motion to approve to rescind the closure?
So moved.
And a second.
I second.
And the reason we're doing this, the school had came to us, or representatives of the school, and asked us to close that street. We voted on it, and sent it over to the planning commission, and the planning commission met, and they turned it down. Is that
Well,
correct?
because their attorney and Mr. Bounce came to the planning commission meeting, and the planning commission kept asking them what specifically are they going to do over this road? Would they sign an easement with the town to leave the road open so emergency vehicles can get back in there, and they did not want to do that. So planning commission got a little suspicious on why the school board would not come clean with what they really want to do and why they won't give us an easement. They said, sure, we're never going to close the road, but they wouldn't put it in writing. So the planning commission recommended to leave the road open.
And since they made that decision, then instead of us just leaving it open for everybody to wonder what's the council going to do, the school's wondering anything, because once they come back to us and we can either send it over to the court, whoever it was, and then they had to go through a process. I felt like it was better for us to go ahead and put it on there too, since they turned it down, and I kind of feel like the same way. If they're not going to be open with us and tell us what they want it for, why they want it, what they're going to do with it, then really we just need to leave it as an open street and be done. They can always come back at a later date when they do decide what they're going to do with it. You can share with us what they want to do with it, then we can start the process over.
So the only reason why you say that you want to rescind this is because they wouldn't tell you specifically what they're going to do with the road after they take ownership of it.
Well, I think that's a good reason, since the road belongs to the town of Irmo and we're here to represent the people. I think they should be able to tell us why they need it, why they want it. And at the
Did you
same time,
specifically ask them that question?
they did.
In writing?
They asked them at the meeting. I think it's on the record.
It is, and they asked more than one time to try to get a clear picture of what they wanted to do over there.
And they can always come back to a later
I thought
date.
they told us that they wanted to close it. They gave us a reason before.
I've never heard one.
No, because even when Chief Nathan, Fire Marshal was talking to them, all we wanted to do was make sure that they would sign an easement to leave the road open around the building. Why they wouldn't sign an easement, we don't know.
And so instead of just sitting out there in limbo, I think it's best that we just vote it down and then they know it's dead, and if they want to start back over and come forth and work with us on that, then we'll get it.
Before you vote it down, why don't you just go find out specifically if they would give us an easement, so we sign
They've
it.
already asked.
They asked what they're going to do with it, but you asked specifically for the easement.
So I think I heard them say they asked for an easement.
And they said no, they wouldn't sign an easement.
Yeah.
They refused to sign the easement?
Well, we didn't actually have it. They just said they weren't going to go that route with an easement. That was their attorney.
Okay.
Now, have we drafted one up and proposed it to them? No, we haven't gone that route yet. Say, please sign this easement, take it over to the school board.
That's what I'm saying. You don't want to just do that. If they refuse to do that, then,
Well, they have that opportunity in the future to come back and tell us they will.
yeah, but they got to go through a lot of rigmarole to get this. I mean, we already got it closed and we already got it done, so.
Well, I wouldn't vote to close until they did all that, but, you can call them up and ask them and talk to them and see if they want to, start it back over at some point. I don't think we need to leave it out there in limbo in the meantime, but. Any other?
Let's see where we're at.
All in favor then of the approval to rescind the closure of Gibb Street, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next is the ratification of a contract with JRC Specialty Contractors in the amount of $88,000 to construct a new bathroom, restroom facility at the community park. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? This is the contract with the second bathroom guy. And this is the thing where I felt like we needed to have it on the agenda so that we could all vote on it again as a new council. And yet, I know Mark at one time had some questions. I don't know if you got all of yours answered or...
I mean, I'm satisfied at this point that there's not much we could do without going back and spending more money. And I don't want to spend more money.
All that stuff. Any more discussion? So all in favor then of ratifying that contract with JRC Specialty in the amount of $88,000, do so with show of hands. And that is all the unfinished. Next item is new business, appointments of municipal clerk. Is there a nomination?
I nominate Ms. Stanley, the present clerk.
Any other nomination? Seeing none, all in favor then of Ms. Kim Stanley to be municipal clerk, do so with show of hands. Next is the appointment of town judge. Any nominations?
I nominate Judge Mickey Epton. He's been serving the town for, since Moby Dick was a minute, and has done a fantastic job as a town judge. And if you've ever been to any of his court sessions, the people that are guilty leave there feeling vindicated and happy about paying their fines to the town of Irmo. I think he's done a fantastic job, so I'd like to see him continue on, and thank you, Mickey, for your service.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor then of Mickey Epton as judge, do so with show of hands. And next item is the appointment of town attorney. Any nominations for town attorney?
I'd like to nominate Jake Moore. Jake has served this town for 35 plus years as town attorney, and he's done a fantastic job of prosecuting folks in Mickey's court, and I think he's done a wonderful job outside of the town attorney duties, as well as the beautification of the town through the Arbor Day Committee. And I think we pay him, $35,000 a year, and he certainly produced almost double that in beautification through the town, through the Arbor Day Committee, and I'd like to continue with his services as town attorney.
Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate the Finkel Law Firm being represented by Charles Krosik.
And any other nomination?
I'd like to nominate Eric Hale.
Alrighty. What we'll do is we'll go through each nomination, all three. You can vote for multiple. You don't have to just vote for one. You can vote for every one.
Well, wait, I got some more nominations, and I'll take more than one.
Any more nominations? Ken?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Kirby Sheehan.
Any more nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Willie Bradley, Jr. His law firm is in Irmo on St. Andrews Road. And he has been a taxpaying member of the town, plays the business license here, so I'd like to make sure that he's a local attorney. It's also considered.
We can vote for more than one.
Yeah, each one was a vote, so you can vote for each one. We don't have to vote no, we just take yeses and then kind of count them up as we go. Let me write down. And we'll go in the order they were nominated. All right. Jake Moore. All in favor of Jake Moore, do so with show of hands. And I'm going to just say the guy, Charles, at Finkel Law Firm. One, Eric Hill. Kirby Sheely. Willie Bradley. So we have 2 for Jake, 1 for Charles, 2 for Eric, 1 for Kirby, and 1 for Willie. We'll scratch the ones with 1 and go to the ones with 2. All in favor of
Wait,
Jake?
wait a minute, didn't Charles get 2?
Yeah. And we got,
Finkel got 2, Jake got 2,
who was
Eric
the
Hill
2 for Finkel? Oh, you did, okay,
Yeah, I did.
okay. All right, so we'll do those 3 again.
We've got 3 of them.
Okay. All right. All in favor then of Jake Ward? Do so with your hand. 2. And Finkel Law Firm.
I get to vote again.
We'll go back down again. Eric Hill. 2.
Yeah, it didn't pass.
It's all good.
So, those are the 3 again with 2, and we'll start back over again. Jake Moore.
Well, you know, again, experience matters to us, and I think that we have to look at the fact that Mr. Moore charges us a very reasonable rate. I think he pays $35,000 a year.
3,000 a month.
It's 36 a year, okay. And these other attorneys would think there'd be a lot more if you do a yearly basis on expenses. So if you're truly conservatives and you really believe in, getting more value for your bucks, I think we need to continue with the services of Mr. Moore and the Moore Taylor Law Firm at $35,000 or $36,000 a year. Looks like those other attorneys are much more expensive.
We'll start back over. The third go round, Jake Moore, all in favor? Finkel Law Firm. And Eric Hill.
So we do this all night?
I guess so, until one gets 3. So, we'll start back over, Jake Moore. I didn't see the tenth.
Well, I did.
Finkel Law Firm
He's cheaper. Jake's cheaper.
and Eric Hill.
Eric Hill?
Yeah, no. So, does anyone want to make a suggestion, or do we want to keep going?
Yeah, I suggest we continue with the services of Moore Taylor Law Firm.
Well,
I don't think the vote's gonna change.
It's not.
We haven't changed thus
Well,
far.
I will make a,
May I say something?
Yeah.
The Finkel Law Firm is a large firm downtown Columbia, and he gave us 2 proposals. And one proposal is a fixed retainer, one is an hourly retainer. And in his hourly retainer, he also mentioned that if he could hand it down to one of the lesser attorneys in the firm, the cost would be much less, and if a paralegal could handle it, it could be much less again. And in a lot of cases, it could be handled by the town attorney town administrator going through the municipal association rather than involving the town attorney. So we've got 2 ways to go with this particular firm.
How much they want to charge?
Can we get a copy?
yeah,
I have nothing, I just did
Yeah.
write it down, but I mean, all 3 of them offer it. They have
Yeah.
Stewart, Junior,
and I think they all
and just have 3 different rates.
Okay.
had different rates for their fixed rate, for their hourly rate, and then also for their other people below them. We can do 2 different things. I'm going to make a motion that we vote on each one individually, and then we will vote up and down on each one individually. So
What
is
have
there,
we been doing the last,
so is there a second for that motion?
I don't understand what the motion is. What have we been doing for the last 10 minutes?
I'm going to make a motion, and you can listen, that we vote on each one, Jake Moore, Eric Hill, or Finkel Law Firm. We vote for and against, and then see what shakes out after that. So everybody will
For and
vote on each
against?
one.
For and against.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
We'll vote for, and we'll vote against. So we'll have 2 yeses, 3 noes, or something like that. It's how we kind of
They
eliminate.
want to see the minimums.
So, my first
Wait a
motion,
minute, I don't understand.
Well, I'm gonna explain it to you real
Explain it
simple.
to me again, because
All right.
I always.
I'm making a motion right now that we vote on retaining Jake Moore's services with the town of Irmo. All in favor of that?
Okay.
Yeah.
All against? All right, so that's done. Now we have Finkel Law Firm. We're going to vote on making a motion to retain Finkel Law Firm as the town attorney at these rates here. We can either do that on an hourly or we can do it on a fixed rate, either one. After we decide the attorney, I guess we can decide which one of those rates. So the motion now is for Charles Crofter at Finkel Law Firm. All in favor? Okay. All opposed? So that's, all right, let me get this straight. All right, the next is a motion for Eric Hill of the law office to be the town attorney. All in favor? All opposed? Well,
So what have you accomplished?
we have no town attorney at this moment. All of them did not.
You voted against.
So we have no town attorney, and that's fine. We can do this a different date or whatever, but we're moving on from here, and that's that.
Wait a minute, I mean, let me ask you a question. What did we just accomplish by
We
voting?
voted against these three people, firm, for being our town attorney, so we don't have one, and that's it, we move on. We can call a special meeting to order, we can figure out what we're gonna do, and we can do it without one each year.
But we have people that, we voted for it, we have two people that voted for it.
Yeah, but that's not a majority,
Okay, but we didn't have a majority either in
That's
any
right.
of the cases.
so that's
So none of these people qualify then.
they're not, I'm not saying they're not qualified, I'm just
I
saying
mean,
maybe not.
none of these people got enough votes.
Right,
So when we put it out to bid then, we advertise that we're looking for a town attorney and put it out to
make a
more than-
decision at a later time, it's not on our agenda to do that, so we can make that decision later and call a special meeting and do that, or we can authorize Bob to do something and get the information together.
Well, I mean, I think it's important we have a town attorney, we got all these litigations that we're trying to get through.
We have access to the municipal association attorney, we had to have one.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
So right now.
So right now.
You could always call any attorney and pay an hourly rate.
Yeah.
You really have to.
That's true too, it costs a lot more money.
Not necessarily.
So will we actually advertise that we're looking for an attorney then? So let
Well,
other
I can
people
discuss that, it's not on the agenda, we're not discussing it, we can talk about it, and we can put it on the agenda, and call a meeting.
Well, I mean, you got other people that you other people considered tonight, and we didn't discuss it before.
These were the nominations.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, we're gonna put it out there that we're gonna have.
I've already set it up.
We're not gonna put it out, we're not gonna advertise.
I said we can discuss it at a meeting, but that's not on the agenda tonight, and we can decide what we want to do.
All right, well, will we put it on the agenda for the next meeting, Bob?
We may call a special meeting before that, so we'll just figure out tomorrow what we're gonna do. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the 2016 council meeting schedule. This is something state law requires us to do, is to put out an agenda, put out a schedule of all our meetings. Doesn't mean that we have to have that meeting that night. This is something that we do. And then any meeting that we're going to be closed for a holiday, then those are already pre-scheduled. But y'all have that list there. Does anybody have anything they want to comment on it or add to it, or all happy with that? Approval then of the 2016 council meeting. All in favor, do so with show of hands. And next item is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to address council on anything, whether it's on the agenda tonight, may do so at this time. And that gentleman, okay.
Good afternoon. We are actually the residents impacted by the flooding that was discussed earlier. I'm actually a resident and taxpayer in this area since 2000, well actually 1999. Raised my son in that house, and up until July of this year, never had anything other than minor repairs and so forth.
Excuse me, can you give us your name, please?
My name is Rhonda Majette, and this is my neighbor.
Rodney Rockwell.
Okay. And so we're coming before you guys simply because since that sidewalk was placed in behind our homes, we've noticed that it just simply does not look like any other sidewalk in the state. It does not have a curb. It is flush with the street. And we've printed out several pictures so that you can see how the flooding takes place.
What's the address, please, ma'am?
50 St. Albans Road in Irmo and 46 St. Albans Road in Irmo.
Thank you.
Okay. And our homes, as far as we know, are the only two that have experienced that. And it's because of the way the land slope now exists. Now, probably about 2 years ago, a gentleman from the DOT came to my home and asked if I would find them the rights to pick up my fence and take it apart and build a sidewalk because it was going to make the area much nicer for the okra strut when it took place in the new park. And I asked a few questions like, was I going to be compensated if they took my land in addition to the right-of-way land? And he couldn't answer that question. And so he went away, he never came back, and the next thing I knew, the sidewalk was being constructed. And so I'm assuming that they went with a plan B or something else other than picking up our fences, because the neighbor beside me asked to be compensated and the person on the other side, Mr. Rockwell, was not a resident at that time. And again, since 1999, when we purchased the home, we haven't had any issues like that. Now, what the flooding has caused is a great deal of expense. I've had to have my carpet replaced twice this year, molding. My walls in October had to be treated for mold. So we're talking a good $8,000 to $9,000 twice this year out of my pocket, because Allstate, my home insurance company, does not reimburse you for expenses that have to do with flood. So now I've had to purchase flood insurance. And of the almost $12,000 the second time around, FEMA only wrote me a check for $199. So I think the ask here tonight is, because you guys do represent the citizens of Irmo, is that you stand with us. You know, the two of us have been against the DOT for months now, and we've gotten very little response. I think an engineer came out and walked through, and we haven't heard anything. So whatever resources the council has, the town attorney, your voices, please just don't leave us hanging in the balance here, because we both sit up at night anytime it rains, wondering if we're going to have to swim through our living rooms. And this is not because of the 1,000-year flood. It's because of the change in the landscape behind our house that I believe this council signed off on. Now, Rocky, I don't know what you have to say, but there you go.
When they put this sidewalk in, this was like October of 2014. I walked around and looked at how the sidewalk was being constructed. And I called Witt from the Irmo, asked him to have the engineer come over and meet with me. And come over, and I told him, I said, this is going to flood me out. And they said, no, it won't. The berm will keep it from flooding you out. I said, no. If you come and look exactly where the sidewalk comes, they've got a ditch. They build it up actually 2.5 foot higher. My privacy fence in the back of my house, when people walk by earlier, I'd see the top of their head. After they build up the sidewalk, I see their chest. I was sitting in my backyard, and I've got a nice backyard. Somebody comes along and snaps a picture. So I come over and talk to the Irmo police, and saying, what do you do? Are they casing me or what? And I build my privacy fence up higher. So now I got a privacy fence, so that cost me. Now I've got up and I've been flooded out twice. And the first time, and actually I've been flooded 3 times, but the first time I prevented it from flooding my whole house. But it come off of my neighbor's lawn, down into my yard, because her house is higher than mine, and come right inside of my house. So I built a dike that goes all the way from my property out to the front. Now her lawn doesn't flood mine. They've never seen anything like it. I built drainage that goes down to the front of my yard, and I've got 3 drains from the back to the front with a sump pump now that goes out into the driveway so I don't flood out my neighbors. After the last flood, I got another sump pump on my back patio because it all comes down. I've taken pictures at 6 o'clock in the morning in the first flood with an umbrella, and I can show you exactly how all of the flooding went. I've had Richland DOT out there, and I've had engineers. I got their engineers' names. I've had, I had FEMA come out. FEMA appraised my house. They gave me $8,000.
For your house?
$8,000 for the flooding. I had $34,000 worth of damage to my house. Okay.
They gave you 8,000.
Well, and I've got a loan from the SBA for 24/7. Okay, but I don't think I should have to pay for it because that's what Richland County did to me. But if you would let me come up to the front, I can show you some pictures.
Are these pictures here?
I've got more.
Okay.
That's just what I printed off for her, but I can actually show you how it comes across. I can show you the water that was in my backyard, all of that, so you at least got an idea. Now, I had another engineer come meet with me. I just happened to drive home for lunch. He was out there looking, and I told him, I said, if you really want to handle this problem, go out to Lake Murray, see how they constructed that fence that goes across the dam. That's what you need to do along the back of our fence, right there. Then build a drainage that goes down and puts it into it, because we're taking the water from the top all the way down, and it's all coming in, starting at my yard. Now, I got water where hers was up to the top. Mine was, I've got a 2.5 foot drop right off the road. It all comes down into my backyard. So if I can show you that, I'd appreciate it.
And one other thing I'd just like to state is, this is affecting the property value. I was in the middle of a refi with Bank of America, and I had to stop it because I couldn't get my inspection done. Because right now I had 3 rows of sandbags behind my home, and they wouldn't value my home. So I lost the whole point, on my rate because of this situation.
Was there any flooding prior to the sidewalk being?
None. I've been there. We purchased our home at the end of 1999. We moved in the beginning of 2000. And I can show you school records of everything. I've been right there on that spot. Nothing like this has happened before July of this year. Nothing. I mean, it's a low crime area. We've been safe. We've been sound. In fact, I plan to hand the house off to my son. And it's just devastating that I could live in an area that long. And they could come along and just change the way I sleep at night.
You said that was in July?
July of 2015.
And it's been
The rain was October.
October 2014?
No, there was a rain in July, which was the first flooding, which went into 3 rooms of my home. The rain in October went into every room of my home.
This right here is the root.
Yeah. That resembles.
That's
Well, I can assure you it was not maliciously done. The sidewalk was put in for a reason.
I get that, and it looks nice. I mean, I can't say that a sidewalk is a bad thing. I'm just saying that I know for a fact they had a different plan originally. And
Yeah,
when we
they
asked,
should put the curb in right, and it's.
yeah, it looks like a rush job, to be
Right.
honest with you. Because I can't think of a sidewalk anywhere else in this county that doesn't have a step up.
Right.
Even for the safety of the pedestrians that are on the sidewalk, there should be some difference between the level of the street and sidewalk. And in this case, there is none.
Right.
I've lived there 3 years. And just this year, we started getting the floods.
Well, as you heard, at the next meeting, I have asked the DOT person to be here
Okay?
to explain to us how come this sidewalk is constructed differently than the sidewalks in town. I don't know. So,
Yeah, well, we can be back. We don't have, we gotta keep going. This is our homes, you know?
Anyhow, I build dikes, so.
Yeah, but that's awful that you have to do something.
We had a counter.
And I do wanna say thank you for the letter. I do appreciate that. It's
Well,
just that,
he
it
hadn't
just,
responded yet, he's had it, what, 3-4 weeks? It's been a while.
yeah, and so I would like some push on that, because if it rains again, we won't even have the FEMA little bit of money that they gave us to fall back on. We'll just be back in our pockets again.
And did you say at one point, what again, they gave you $199?
$199. And that's because when the agent came out, he saw that I had to purchase a dehumidifier. And apparently the dehumidifier qualified under their necessities, but my carpet did not. So I'm filing an appeal.
Did not?
No, I'm filing an appeal, and we had a conversation today, so I have to send them some more documentation. But they said that just because, I had moved my furniture and put like plastic bags and stuff under it, so I didn't lose anything like that. But they said that I didn't lose anything essential to life.
For 15 years, I owned a cleaning restoration company here in Irmo, and I understood how to clean up my own, mitigated my loss. We were up at 12 o'clock in the morning putting bags under all of our furniture, putting our sofas up on our end tables and sucking out water. That was at midnight all day the next day because it kept coming in. I bought 2 sump pumps and pumped it out and just kept on going. But on the second one, where we got the 4.5 inches, the rain was so saturated into the yard because of coming from so many directions. It just wouldn't, there was no place for it to go except for into the house. So.
Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll stand with us until we can get this resolved.
Is this ours?
Yes, it is.
If we had a town attorney, we could send a letter to somebody, right? Guess we don't have one, so. Or we get that municipal association attorney to write a letter for us, right?
Anyone else would like to address council?
Hello, my name is Beth Hutchison, and I'm on the school board, Lexington Richland 5, and I'm here to talk about the issue of the closing of the road, the request for Gibbs Court, and I have been communicating by text with our Chief Financial Officer, Lynn Richardson, who has been dealing with this along with our attorneys. And I do want to say that I'm a bit concerned when I heard the words to come clean, that we would not come clean. That is not anything that there's nothing to hide. We come
Could you fix
clean.
your mic, please?
Okay, I'll speak a little bit louder. Could you hear me up to that point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. So, number one, the use of the word come clean is very unfortunate because that certainly is not the type of relationship that we feel we have with the town of Irmo, and it's not the type of relationship that we want to have, nor do we think we've ever had that type of relationship. So I'm a little bit concerned about those words. However, I think it's very, I do think that what we're dealing with and what I heard from Lynn Richardson is that, number one, it was, let me read this if you don't mind, he said that his understanding was the Planning Commission had put off taking action, and he said he did not know that this would be on the agenda item tonight. And he says, I'm not sure where this is coming from, the concern that we would not allow access of emergency vehicles. He said the fire chief raised these concerns due to emergency access concerns. And then Mr. Richardson said, I'll find out what's going on tomorrow. So, Mr. Brown, I'm sure you will hear from Mr. Richardson or someone who's working with this. Then I asked another question. Thank you. And I said, did we say we wouldn't give emergency access? And he said, not at all. He, I'm guessing, who the chief of, the fire chief, was concerned we would build a structure, which is not our plan. He said, Lynn Richardson said, I did not speak to him directly. Lisa Smith, our attorney, is working with the town administrator, and also Scott Carlin, and then Mr. Bounds. So anyway, I am sure that the school district is very open and very willing to answer any questions that you have about our request for the closing of that portion of Gibbs Street, which for those of you who may not know it, it's right behind a building that we recently purchased, and we have some offices in there, and it's in front of the school. We use it for parking. It's been like that forever and a day, and it is simply just a measure to make sure that that will continue being closed so that we can continue using that property, because now it connects with a building that we own. The attorney can give much better explanation of this, but I just want to assure you that we want to work with the town of Irmo. We'll continue working with the town of Irmo, and we'll answer any questions about why we want this and why we want anything or why we'll do anything. So please take this into consideration when you're looking at these issues. Please feel free to call me. I am a town resident. I live right back here in Archer's Court. And please feel free to call anyone in the school district. If you can't get in touch with them, please call me. I'll be glad to find out the information for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
They want to address that and say they're never going to close.
All they got to do is call you and you
Excuse me, Marion Brown, 118 Bolters Lock Road. This situation here with the Irmo town attorney, that was sad commentary just a moment ago. That's terrible. We don't take a person's service who, actually the person who rendered service to this community for 35 years, you all say? Plus, at $36,000 a year. You know him, you know who he is, you know how he is. I'm not defending anyone. I'm complaining about the process. And the process stunk to high heaven. Made no sense. I saw personal agendas come into play. Wasn't necessary. You didn't have a vote that removed him from office. You had a tie. Consequently, he should remain in that position until you all remove him as you should. I didn't hear anybody says, well, over the years, Brother Moore, Jake Moore, Attorney Moore, counselor, whatever you want to call him, was reprimanded such and such a time in 1999, 2010. I didn't hear that. And I think, and he's not here to represent himself. And I don't know him really other than the 2 or 3 times I've seen him in the meetings here, and he told me to shut up, he was talking. But that meant nothing to me, because right is right. And I think that you all need to take another look at that, and I think that he should remain in that position until you can adequately remove him, because tonight you didn't do it. And that's not to put anybody down, to build anybody up, or to make anybody look bad, or to make anybody look good. Do it the right way. You got a fine council up here. I voted for you. Some of you just like others. And I want to congratulate you. But you can't start off the year with a railroad job. And that's what that looked like to me. I could be wrong. You can tell me to sit down and shut up. I'll do that. But the point being is, give him his just due. He served you all. Nobody complained about him to get rid of him. 35 years. And then you just, boop. That's not fair. That's not fair. And I have no reason or no personal agenda to come up here and try to defend him like that. Like I told you, he told me to shut up and sit down. He was talking. You see. And I knew where that was and what was coming from that. But treat him right and secure a new town attorney if that's what you have to have, not through, what you call it, gangsterism, railroading somebody. Do it the right way.
Thank you. Anyone else? See none. Executive session, there's none known. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And second. All in favor of adjourning? Use social hands. We are adjourned. Thank you all.